Wanting to buy a graphics card in 2023 can be a problem, especially because we just got out of a crisis where we saw how the prices went up. Now, there are many miners selling their graphics cards on the internet, but we don't want to buy a graphics card that has been used for mining. That's why today, I bring you the top 5 video cards that are worth it in 2023, and that, above all, have good quality price ratio. Obviously, they will not be ordered from worst to best because they are in totally different segments. Number 5 is the GTX 1050 Ti, which is already a legendary graphics card and was, at some time, the perfect definition of quality price. But, even if it is not in the top one, I will take it as an example. It is already obsolete, and we cannot recommend it because of this reason. In the 5th place, we have the RX 6500 XT. No man, how are you going to recommend a 6500 XT? I too hated this graphics card, believe me. But, with the price drop in recent months, this graphics card now costs practically half of what it cost before. The DXFX 6500 XT is the cheapest you can find on the market. This is the same price as the legendary RX 570, and the performance is higher than it. Despite only having 4 GB of memory, it performs very well in many games at 1080p. It offers the AMD RDNA2 architecture designed to offer excellent gaming performance with remarkable efficiency. It also has a base clock speed of 2685 MHz and a turbo speed of 2825 MHz. The type of bus it uses is the PCI Express 4.0, and it has 2 outputs, an HDMI and a DisplayPort for tasks of productivity and gaming, not so demanding. This graphics card is perfect. However, if you want to use it for streaming, it is not the first option because it does not have a codec or for recording videos or streaming. In this case, the load will be taken by the processor. But, don't worry because with a good configuration in OBS, the streaming should go well. The best option to accompany this graphics card would be a Ryzen 5 5600X or a 512 EVGA generation. This is in case you want to use it for streaming, and there is no bottleneck. In fact, I have a video where I explain a little more about this graphics card. You will also need a motherboard with PCI 4.0 so that it does not lose so much performance and get the most out of this graphics card. Number 4. The RTX 2060. This graphics card couldn't be missing from a top list of graphics cards in terms of quality price ratio. And it's because a graphics card from 2019 doesn't seem like a good option anymore, but in fact, it's quite the opposite in terms of speed and performance. This Nvidia RTX 2060 offers a performance of 6.45 teraflops, thanks to a base frequency of 1365 MHz and 1680 Nvidia GPU technology. Of course, we have Nvidia's capacity for dynamic refresh rates. In other words, if your monitor is compatible with this technology, the synchronization speed will be much faster to provide a smoother gaming experience. We also can't forget about the graphics memory. Here is where the great advantage of RTX lies, which is in all its GDDR6 chip models, where real-time ray tracing technology is implemented in all models. Well, this time the 2060 implements 6 GB GDDR6 at a speed of 14 GB per second to perform without any problem in resolutions of up to 8K at 60 FPS. In other words, the multimedia experience will be incredible, and you'll be able to watch your favorite videos in maximum quality without any problems. This graphics card even has better performance than the 3050, which was launched earlier this year and is $50 more expensive than the 2060. So, the latter is still the best option, despite having been released 3 years ago. In my opinion, it still has about 3 to 4 years of life left for gaming. Number 3. The RX 6600 is still a quality graphics card, quintessential for its price and mid-range capabilities. Since the end of last year, it has been available at an extremely cheap cost and performs very well with everything required. This would be the perfect definition for the RX 6600. And despite the fact that many confuse it and compare it with the 6600 XT, this one costs less and does not have almost anything to envy from this graphics card. Mainly, it has 8 GB of GDDR6 memory, which is something that is already required in 2023. Clock frequencies are still one of the strengths of this new generation of AMD cards, and in this case, we have 2044 in game mode going up to 2.491 MHz in boost mode. The performance and improvement in performance of this RX 600 is placed 26% above the RTX 2060 in 1080p. Also, it is on top of the RX 5600 XT, which we already talked about before. If we talk about direct competitors, it would face the RTX 3060, which on Amazon can be found for about $400 more or less. while the RX 6600 costs nothing more and nothing less than $250. That is $150 less than the competition, or literally, the 6600 poops the 3060 on most aspects. Now, it's important to note that this doesn't mean that there's a 100 or 50 FPS difference, but this is the term value for money. So great job by AMD. Number 2. Once again, AMD is on top, and this time with the mid-range high-end Radeon RX 6700 XT. The same as the series cards RX 6500 and 6600, it is based on the new AMD RDNA2 architecture, also called Big Navi. This means that all the improvements that came with these other graphics cards will, of course, also be present here, such as the highest energy efficiency and clear ray tracing. The RX 6700 XT is compatible with technologies such as Fidelity FX, which uses advanced scaling technologies to boost frame rates and guarantee high-quality gaming experiences. In terms of resolution, it can even double frame rates and improve the quality of the video game. It also uses a derivative chip of the ones used in consoles like the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series 10. The RX 6700 XT also has quite a frequency of 1559 MHz, obtaining gaming frequencies of 2424 MHz and 2581 MHz boost. The number of gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM present is 12, which is typical of the mid to high-end range graphics cards that are centered on gaming in Full HD and 2K. Maybe it won't work for playing in 4K, but if you plan to buy this graphics card, believe me, it will not fall short in any video editing, photography, or other homework. It is perfect in video games, literally everything at more than 60 FPS. Number 1 again, Nvidia enters the top, and this time with the RTX 3060 Ti. And if it is an upper mid-range graphics card that is located between the RTX 3060 and the 3070 for optimal performance in 2K and DLSS. Despite that the 3060 Ti is not the most powerful GPU today's market offers, it still provides excellent performance at a reasonable price, making it one of the best graphics cards under the term quality price. The GPU of this card, like the others RTX 30 series graphics processors, was manufactured by Samsung using its 8nm technology. That's why the clock frequencies of this GPU will start from a base frequency of 1410 MHz up to about 1665 MHz in bus mode. We could not forget about the EPI RAM memory, and it has 8GB GDDR6. All features like Nvidia Studio Broadcast or RTX AI will also be available in the RTX 3060 Ti. Something striking about these functions is VIA Reflex that serves to measure and optimize the latency of a video game, from the mouse clicks until the image reaches the monitor. As I already told you, this graphics card was specially made for playing in 2K. And although there are games that reach 60 FPS in 4K, they are only some in performance. The 3060 Ti can be found above graphics cards like the RTX 2080 Super or the old GTX Titan 1080 Ti. And if we talk about strengths, ray tracing is the great feature of all RTX. Envy is also called ray tracing, and it is a technique of lighting used in 3D animation from which we can get ultra-realistic lights, reflections, and shadows. And if you still don't understand what ray tracing is, basically, this: without ray tracing, with ray tracing, without ray tracing, with ray tracing. It's crazy. As a conclusion, I recommend analyzing well why do you want it. If you want a cheap graphics card for games not so heavy, the RX 6500 XT would be a good option. Now, if you want it for streaming, you have a 144Hz monitor, and you want to play at least 100 FPS, the best option is the 6700 XT or the 3060 Ti. Then buying a graphics card is like buying clothes. There are a lot of varieties, and it all depends on the use you want to give it. Subscribe, it's free. Like and comment what graphic card you would like to buy, and already buy.